Hey everybody, it's Kirsten with Talk Travel Eat, and like the title of this video says, we've been doing a little reflecting and a little adjusting. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that my husband Mark and I recently moved ourselves from Lisbon, Portugal to Bangkok, Thailand. And if you're new to my channel, I really appreciate you coming aboard and so appreciate you watching. Mark and I have been here in Bangkok for about 6 weeks now, maybe 6 or 7 weeks, and it's really just been an adjustment period, a transition period. We've also had time to think about our time in Portugal and just really reflect on it. First of all, we really can't believe we're here. We didn't have a very long lead up until we decided to leave Portugal and come over here. I think it was something that was brewing for a while. We just spent a long time really trying to convince ourselves that we loved it there, and I guess in the end we just couldn't convince ourselves. So I would say with about 4 to 6 weeks left to go before the first year expired on our 3-year lease, that's when we really started seriously thinking about, okay, yeah, maybe we're just ready to move on. What we started thinking about was our lease. We had completed 1 year of the 3 years, and we started asking ourselves, well, what did we really like about being there in Portugal? So as we were approaching 1 year on our 3-year lease, we just wanted to look back on the year, ask ourselves what we loved about being there, what we were enjoying about Portugal and Lisbon. And the more we asked ourselves these questions, the more we just couldn't come up with satisfactory answers. And I think also part of it was what's going on with the economy right now and how it's particularly playing out in Portugal and the larger cities of Lisbon and Porto. The price of rentals and real estate in general has just gone through the roof in the last year, and quite frankly, we just never really believed that living there would be worth those high prices. And so when we could see that an apartment we were renting in Porto, we lived in Porto for 4 months after we first arrived in Portugal, and we paid €890 for a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath apartment right in the center of Porto. And granted, that was a great deal. It was coming on COVID times. A great deal for people coming to the West, but at €890 for the 2-bedroom, we thought the price was appropriate. Now, it was an alojamento local, so it was tourist housing. And once we moved on to Lisbon, I kept tabs on just how much the prices were increasing for that unit. And even when I checked today, that unit is renting for €2,500 a month. And I just think that is absolutely ridiculous. We asked ourselves, is that the kind of fate we were going to face when our 3-year lease was up in just 2 more years? Again, the value for money, in my opinion, is not there. And we just didn't want to be a part of that economy. Now, people talk about this kind of pricing happening everywhere, and I do agree it is happening everywhere, but in my opinion, there are just certain places that I wouldn't pay those inflated values for housing, and Portugal is just one of those places. I come from a place like that where housing prices are through the roof, but I also feel like you're getting a lot in return for what you're paying for in a city like San Diego, California. So anywho, all of that came into play when we were thinking about our situation there in Lisbon, how we thought it might play out in a couple of years, what we felt like we were really getting in return for living there, and where our enjoyment was. And for us, none of it just added up. Especially with the housing, that situation just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because why would you pay more for the same mediocre product? It's like, how can the same apartment cost so much more just a few months later? In principle, I just don't agree with that. And again, Portugal is not the only country in the world, and so we just decided to cut our losses and move on. Another thing I will say about being there, especially now that we've been away for a few weeks, just the number of compromises that need to be made to live the Portuguese lifestyle. Again, coming from where we come from, it's very easy to justify that, oh, we don't need to have a climate controlled home. Now, we were lucky that we did, so that wasn't an issue for us. But when I hear people making those compromises and basically just acting like that's normal and that's a compromise they're willing to make, that's fine for some people, but we're just not ready, or will ever be ready, to regress in that way when there are so many places in the world where you can live comfortably and safely without having to sacrifice so many basic comforts. So, that's one of the things we had reflected upon, during our time in Portugal, and have really been able to reflect on it since we've been gone, because where we are now here in Bangkok is simply like night and day compared to Portugal. Now, I know they're two different countries, two different cultures, obviously, but we've traveled to a lot of places. And, the pandemic really slowed a lot of things down for a lot of people. But now that the world has pretty much opened up again, it was just really time to look at all of our choices and really come somewhere that feels just so right for us. So we have been really reflecting on our choice somewhat, and we are really happy to be here. I mean, every day it is a new challenge. Bangkok is a huge city. So many different areas, so many different neighborhoods, so busy, so many people. When we traveled here before, we were on vacation. So sure, we wanted to learn about the places we wanted to visit on vacation, but now that we're living here, there's the learning curve of figuring out all of the transportation. We've just been doing a lot of wandering around, getting the layout of the city, learning the different trains. Bangkok has the BTS system, which is the elevated train system. It has the MRT, which is the subway system. There are several water taxis along different canals here in the city. Obviously, there are many bus routes. There are air-conditioned buses and non-air-conditioned buses. And then you have the Chao Phraya River, where you can ride water taxis up and down that river. So we've just been checking it all out, figuring it all out, and discovering it all. We've also been just amazed at the modernity of the city and the historic, traditional parts of the city. I mentioned it in a previous video. These two eras coexist beautifully in this city, and we spend a lot of time just wandering around, soaking it all up, really. And I will say, finally, that we've been in a little bit of a holding period since we've been here, because coming over here, now we knew we were running out of room in our passports. We still have a couple of year validity on our passports, but our passports are pretty full. We've used them well. The last time we renewed our passports, about 8 years ago, in San Diego, you could pretty much make an appointment, walk in, and pick up your passport literally the next day if you were traveling. So we made a habit of renewing that way in the past. Well, we couldn't decide if we wanted to renew them with the U.S. Embassy in Lisbon before we came here, or if we were going to do it through the U.S. Embassy here in Bangkok after our arrival. We were researching the timing of our visas, etc. And basically we decided that we would renew our passports once we got here. So in theory, that sounded great. We were in contact with the embassy. The process is straightforward. So we went ahead and submitted our passports for renewal. And I guess we both were a little struck about how we felt without having access to our passports for several weeks, especially given that we're in a new country that we're unfamiliar with. We didn't have proof of our entry. Yes, we had photographs. Yes, we could print out copies of everything, but it's not the same as having that sweet little passport in your hand. So that kind of, slowed us down a little bit in these first few weeks. I'm happy to report that we did, in fact, just receive our passports back. So we're really excited about that. So we're really looking forward to just moving forward and exploring more that this great city of Bangkok has to offer, and Thailand as a country in general. So really, that's kind of what's been going on with us. It's been, like I said, 6 or 7 weeks here. We basically walk around with our mouths hanging open because there's just so much to take in. It's been really great, and we're just really, really excited about the future. So I think that's going to be it for this video. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. I always enjoy reading your comments. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.